All right, everybody. Happy Wednesday, March 6th. I hope you're well wherever you may be in this wide, wide world. We are excited to present to you today how to use AI in your job search. The title is pretty self-explanatory. We've all been playing with ChatGPT, Gemini, everything in between to create everything from travel plans to figuring out how to make a certain recipe and all the way now down to our job search. So we're excited to talk about this today because it's a highly competitive market. The market has changed a lot. And with me today is Nader Molai, founder of Engineer Your Mission. And he's been a career coach. I think I can say former Forbes Coaches Council, very, very well venerated in the community. And he's come to us before with his Job Search Like a Pro series. And today he's here to talk about how to use AI in your job search. And so he's got a lot ahead for us. As we say, this presentation and the webinar here will be recorded and shared with you after this webinar. Please feel free to use the Q&A function to ask your questions or the webinar chat to engage. We will try our best to read everything that comes through and address anything that's important. So without further ado, Nader, welcome. It's so nice to have you here, and it's so great to have a gigantic audience to share this very valuable information.
Oh, it's so nice to be here. I appreciate you always being kind to me, giving me these opportunities, and for me to come here and share with you what I'm really passionate about, what I've been spending, all day, every day on, literally for the last 14 years. But we'll get into that, and I'll tell a little bit of my story to help build some credibility and show you right off the bat that you're definitely in the right place. First and foremost, with Albert's list and the empire that Albert's building and is continuing to build, and hundreds of success stories that he's developed. So you're definitely, with me aside, you're already in the right place, surrounded with the right people, and I'm hoping to add more value, and perhaps we can leave this conversation with some aha moments and some take-home items and some homework and some wow, I didn't know I could do that. And oh my God, I'm really excited to start using this and all that good stuff, right? So with all that said, just a little bit of, housekeeping items. If anything happens, technology is weird. LinkedIn was down today. Facebook and Instagram were down a couple of days ago or yesterday. So if any kind of technology issues happen, we lose anyone or you lose me for whatever the reason is, just bear with us. If it's on my side, I'll get back on. If it's on anybody else's side, God forbid, just get back in with us. And at the end of the 90-minute session that we have planned, I'll open up the room for any questions. I'll answer as many of them as we possibly can, and aiming not to go over 2 hours. All right. Now, there's a lot of good content. There's a lot of detail that I want to share with you today. I've done my best to keep it within 90 minutes, but keep in mind that this is the first time I'm presenting this topic, though I've been working on it for 5 weeks. So there's lots that have gone into it, and it's gone through so many iterations and just cutting and shaping and making it down to only 11 slides. So I hope to get through it within 90 minutes. And then we'll go from there. We'll answer questions, and I'll serve you as best as I can. Now, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here with you. Share the presentation. Let me know if you can see my slides. First time I'm using an AI-powered presentation maker. This has been really cool, really fun. It looks nice, if I may say that. And it was actually so much easier. It took a fraction of the time. Okay, cool. Yeah, I see a lot of yes and yups. I can see. Okay, thank you so much for everyone. So let's jump right in. I won't keep you waiting, and we'll get started. And I want to tell you, there's a little bit of story of what's been happening in the job market on the employer side, but also on the job seeker side, and also on the support staff. As coaches and consultants and mentors, we're kind of like in the middle. We're not really recruiters. We're not really job seekers. We're in the middle. we're guiding people across the bridge, so to speak. So, year and a half ago, when AI really proved to be here and here to stay, a lot of job seekers just started using it. So everybody started adopting resume writing tools and cover letter development platforms and AI job search automation systems. And they heard about Google doing an interview practice AI and doing this and why doing that. And everybody has started adopting it and just diving head deep into the world of AI. And what it is that they do. What can I do? Can I just do everything that they promised me to do? And there was this whole 6 months or so where, from my side of the game, everything really slowed down for me, other mentors, other consultants, other coaches. And the first 6 months of 2023 was pretty scary for a lot of us in the support staff, so to speak, right? So we went through it, we bit the bullet and said, you know what? Yeah, AI is really changing everything. And, as we started experiencing all these AI generated resumes and AI generated cover letters, we began to slowly but surely step out of our, this depressive 6 months of thinking that AI is going to take our job, to a point that seeing patterns, seeing anomalies, seeing success stories for sure, but also seeing, where new gaps where new challenges were presenting themselves, where AI wasn't able to really help. So we began to see where you should use AI in your job search, in your career development, and where you shouldn't, where it actually makes a difference and where it doesn't, and also where it's actually beginning to hurt you. And we'll talk about this a little bit more, where if you look at all the AI generated resumes, and again, you gotta take a look at, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds to be able to see patterns. One of the main patterns I saw, and my colleagues have saw in the same field, kind of like the guides, the Gandalfs of the industry. We'd realize that a lot of resumes are looking the same. A lot of people are using the same AI, getting the same answers. So when we were interviewing them, they were giving the same answer to the same questions. It became apparent that, you know what, there's light at the end of the tunnel. So now we just need to start adopting AI and guiding people in using AI correctly, differently, better than just, here's my resume, rewrite it for me. Here's a job description, write a resume for me. We got to go a little bit above and beyond. These large language models, they need to be thought. They need to be informed. They need to be trained. And it is our responsibility, whoever's using it, it's the user's responsibility to correctly prompt that system. Okay, so we're going to be talking about prompt engineering today. I'm going to be giving you prompt strategies. There are so many of them, but I've developed specific ones. So when you leave this conversation today, you'll have a new strategy. You understand the logic of prompting. And yeah, it does take a little bit of work. And obviously, again, my job here is to make your life easier and kind of like do it for you, give you the prompt. But that's the level of effort it takes. It's not just upload the job description, spit out a resume. That no longer works. A lot of resumes are looking the same. A lot of people, now that there's more competition in the world, are doing the exact same thing. So they're moving away from things that actually differentiated them. Even if your resume wasn't great, it actually was different than someone else's resume. It didn't sound and look and feel exactly the same. Now we're having a lot more of that. So anyways, that's kind of like what's happening in the middle in terms of coaches and consultants. We are now really those that are adopting AI. I resisted till January this year. And January this year, I really said, you know what? I give up. I cannot neglect this anymore. And it's my duty, responsibility. It's like an obligation for me to start teaching people out there, customers, clients, prospects, how to use AI to get better results and get the results faster. So anyways, long story short, with that said, let's move on to setting I want to set I want to kind of like set the expectation for you, and maybe like making sure that your perspective is aligned with the perspective of the recruiter, not the coach, not the consultant, not the mentor, not me, not Albert, but the actual employer, the recruiter, the hiring manager. I want you to see things from their point of view. And I want you to understand the facts. And there's two facts I want to set for you here. And you need to accept these facts before moving forward. Otherwise, you're just constantly going to be battling and be in conflict with what you're about to hear and learn today. And the first fact is that it is rarely the most qualified person who gets the interview calls. So there's two milestones in your job search journey: getting the interview and then passing that interview so you can get the job offer. So get the interview and then get the job offer. And most who are struggling don't understand that it is not the most qualified person who gets the job interview. It is actually the person who communicates better and markets themselves more effectively. So it's not the smartest person. It's not the best resume. It's not someone who has the most amount of experience or larger number of skills who gets job interviews. And I know that doesn't sound fair, and it's not, but that's the world that we're living. That's how it happens on this planet. And we're going to have to accept that for us to be able to now take action towards making the necessary changes so we can now begin to land more interviews or calls as well. So getting interviews is not a matter of improving your skill sets. A lot of times I get the question of, what is the next best course I can take? Do you think Python is something I got to learn? What kind of AI courses do you suggest for me to be able to get more interviews? I'm struggling to land a job in this field. Do you think I should pick up machine learning courses? And my answer is always the same. If you're not landing interviews, it has nothing to do with your knowledge, skills, or experience. It is a function of your communication and your marketing. It is a function of your basically like personal branding. How are you branding yourself? How well do you communicate? And how effective is your marketing? So you're basically here today, whether you're an engineer or a marketer, you're here to learn how to communicate better, build a strong personal brand, and how to market yourself more effectively, and now do it all easier and faster with AI. Next fact that you gotta be aware of, accept before you're able to take actions in the right direction is to understand that it's not the most qualified person that gets the job offer, it's the person that interviewed best. And when it comes to interviewing, we're not just talking about the answers to the questions they ask you. It's not just the words that come out of your mouth. It is what you say, of course. So you got to know the answer to the questions, but how you say it and what you look like when you say it. So when you're speaking with people, just like we're speaking together, you can hear the words that are coming out of my mouth, but you can also see the level of my voice, my tone, my energy. And you also can see me, standing up, energetic, ready to go, excited, good lighting, hopefully good sound, but just positive, energetic. And this is the type of person that this is the type of person that I'm portraying myself to be. This is who you get when you get to work with me, whether, you're making a decision on hiring me. It's the same experience when you're interviewing with other people. Hopefully you're in person, because in person, my job would be so much easier. I can shake your hand. We could hug. We could, we can spend time together. We can go grab a coffee. We can look each other eye to eye, and we can actually connect physically, psychologically, even better connect. But nowadays that we got video interviewing as our best way to connect, you got to realize that the person who interviews best is the person who gets the job offer, the person who gets the contract, the person who is able to get hired, whether it's a coach, presenting, sharing, answering questions to a prospect, to a job seeker, or an engineer speaking with an IT director aiming to sign an employment contract or offer. It is not the most qualified person who gets the offer. gets the deal. It's the person who interviews best. Cool. So 2 facts. It's not something that I came up with. It's just, it is what it is. I learned it with 10 years in the industry as an engineering recruiter, as a technical recruiter. I learned this in the job market, and that's how the market operates. So I want that to be the context of a conversation today before we move on. So we're on the same side, we know what's going on and what are the facts. Now, let's move on. Let's move on and talk about AI-driven job strategies. And there's 4 things we want to talk about today, 4 topics. First of all, we'll dive into AI tools for personal branding. This is what I talked about, improving your communication skills and marketing skills. Let's wrap that up as, how we can optimize your brand with the help of a few AI tools that I want to share with you. I've gone through so many new ones pop out of the woodwork every day, and I've shared with you my top tools. Next, we're going to talk about how we can use AI tools to actually automate the job application process, how to streamline the search process, finding, matching, and submitting of your resume. Because although submitting your resume to online job advertisements is not the most effective, but we do know that it is one of the most time-consuming tasks. So up until a year ago or so, we had to either hire someone to do it for us, and who can afford that, or do it ourselves. Took a lot of time, and we didn't have enough time for our own personal development or to go and actively market ourselves to grow our network. But nowadays, you can pretty much automate that entire process. So I've shared with you, I think, 3 different tools with 3 specific set of skills that can be automated, and I'm excited to share that with you. Next, we're going to talk about how to use AI tools to master job interviews, to actually help you prepare better, to basically run mock interviews. And there's a couple of very cool tools that I want to share with you. And last but not least, I'll give you a couple of sources to help you gather, industry data, large sets of data around compensation packages and salary, derived from employee data and employer data, and we're gonna use it to negotiate job offers better. Again, as I go throughout this process, I'm going to be giving you some prompts. We're going to talk about prompt engineering, some frameworks, and I'm giving you specific prompts for popping into a platform like ChatGPT to actually help you come up with ideas, evaluate job offers, and even role play with you. Okay. Anyways, let's move on. Last but not least, I've got a few notes. Any notes and any of these prompts that I've mentioned to you so far, I've added them to this presentation as comments in the appropriate section. First comment here is the link to my LinkedIn profile, and make sure you connect with me, and so we can grow our networking and able to expand, share connections, share advice, share insights, grow together. Cool. All right. With that said, let me take a couple of minutes and share with you why I'm so passionate about this. Again, frankly, over the starting January, I really started to take AI seriously. And last year, the first 6 months was depressing. Everybody in my field got significantly impacted by the adoption of AI and people moving away from using coaches and experts in the field. But in the last 6 months of 2023, it was a comeback and it was exciting. And then coaches like me, we learned so much. We learned so much, realizing, oh my God, I thought that was close. I thought, I need to close shop and become a farmer, by next week. But but it's not really true, There's still things to learn. There's still optimizations to make. There's still AI to further train and create new systems that maybe one day would be so smart with artificial general intelligence that you can have these conversations with, and I can just walk out into the sunset, live on a farm, hang out with my goats, and I don't know, breed chickens, that'll be fun too. But until then, I'm going to tap into my experience and expertise as an engineer, who turned a recruiter and became a career coach. And I think I offer a unique perspective because I studied electronics engineering, specifically machine programming, so embedded programming. So I learned how to program robots. Like I literally, my senior project was machine language. It's all writing machine language, robotics language. So I understand that at a deep level. My work experience was in the IT sector and the telecommunications sector. I worked on the first iPhone. I was part of the wireless enterprise data networking group at a large telecommunication company, the largest one in Canada. So I understood how data works. I was part of one of the few groups that, at least in the early stages of building data infrastructures and solutions, and cloud computing was pretty new. So I got involved with that. And then I went to an IT company and went on the technical solutions side. I was a technical account manager, building back end and front end systems. So all of that really prepped me to understand how technology works. And 3 years after I worked in tech, I got into, by chance, totally by luck, I got into a recruiting company called Randstad. And I was looking for work myself, but they ended up hiring me as an engineering recruiter, helping them hire professionals from the tech sector. And to make the long story short, in 2 years, I was a #1 recruiter in their engineering division in Central and Eastern Canada. And to make even a longer story short, I left and started my own business in 2012. And fast forwarding to 2020, I'd spent 10 years in the recruitment industry in Canada, in the US, and coaching at the same time. As soon as I started my business, I started teaching everything that I had learned in that 2 years in the corporate world to people just like yourself. And that really gave me a crystal clear and in-depth look into the hiring process. I was able to, utilize my technology background to come up with processes, procedures, and quite frankly, like shortcuts, because I was recruiting and coaching. So to the people I was teaching, I was giving them shortcuts. I was showing them how to market themselves better, how to communicate more effectively, how to build networks, how to improve their messaging skills, how to basically get to the hiring manager directly, how to persuade recruiters. So all that combined, all those 10 years in recruiting took me to 2020. The pandemic happened. I predicted the recruitment industry taking a big hit. And just like I predicted it did, I got out of it though. Right before it hits hard, I got out of it and went full time into career coaching as well as started life coaching. And again, coming to where we are right now, March 2024, the last 14 years in the tech sector, and then, in the recruitment sector and in coaching, it's given me a fantastic, well-rounded set of skills that gives me clarity and confidence to be able to stand in front of you guys today. We have 138 people here with us right now, and be able to share with you what I've learned and ultimately guide you towards implementing it by yourself. And that's what I aim to. That's the purpose of my conversation, me being here. But with this presentation specifically, there's three specific goals I want to get into because there's so much. This presentation used to be over 50 pages. When I finished my research, there was so much, and there is so much I want to tell you, but I can't, we're already 30 minutes in and I got 60 minutes left. So I've narrowed it down to 3 different things that I want you to understand that. And first things first, I want to be able to help you overcome massive competition. And the competition has started growing since the pandemic, and it became even more post-pandemic. So all these layoffs during the pandemic, but post-pandemic, last year and even this year, especially the tech sector, is getting really hit by tens of thousands of layoffs from companies that we didn't even expect. I mean, Google and Amazon and Meta, I'll just stop there. I won't go through the list. But like, who thought these companies are going to lay people off in tens of thousands of groups and close departments? I definitely didn't, so all those people that are highly qualified are in the job market. So I don't know who you guys are, but I can tell you without a shadow of the doubt that you have massive competition that you're dealing with right now. So ultimately right now, again, I want to encourage you, I want to show you, I want to help you turn to AI to support your whole job search process. and stand out. That's the easiest thing. First thing you got to do, and quite frankly, it's the easiest thing. It's the easiest thing, but most people don't do it. Is to stand out. For you to stand out, you got to be different. And last year, what AI did was actually making everyone look the same. You know, when people were going through job applications, filling in job applications, all the answers to job applications were almost perfect. And their resumes started looking the same and sounding the same. And all these applicant tracking systems that are now all AI powered, you know, before used to feed it 100 resumes. Let's be more realistic, like 1,000, a couple of thousand resumes, and it would show you the top 50, no problem. You know, these 50 out of the 1,000, these 50, they fit. Now, hey, recruiter, start downloading these 50 resumes and go through them. They're all keyword optimized. They sound good. They look good. But now with AI building these resumes and basically people feeding the same job description into that AI, getting that AI to develop a resume for them, out of those 1,000 people, you've got like 700 good resumes. You're like, okay, used to be 50, now I've got 700, if not more resumes. A lot of resumes are looking the same. And a lot of them have a bunch of BS on them that all sound like a robot's talking to you. They all of a sudden, resumes have accurate facts and figures. Everything is measured. There's a 10x this and 20x that, and this was this much, and I improved it by 25%. These facts and figures, these metrics were extremely rare on resumes. Now, all of a sudden, every resume has it. So now put yourself in my shoes. Put yourself in the shoes of a recruiter who goes through looking at hundreds of resumes every day for a decade. Isn't that weird? Like, are you going to trust that? No, like recruiters are trained not to trust, not to make any assumptions. So that's an issue. That's a problem. If you're doing that, if you're realizing that, you know, some of the stuff you're doing is kind of like fabricated, you're hoping that, okay, you know what, I'll explain it, I'll spin it, I'll talk about it, I'll work my way out of this hole in the job interview. Chances are you won't, you know. And again, now your resume is starting to look like everybody else's. The chances are that you won't even get interviews. It's become more challenging to stand out. Okay. Next, last but not least, with AI is doing all these heavy lifting, it's taken away. It's clearly created a gap between, you know, the person and their resume, you know, their understanding of, you know, how this resume was created. That understanding has diminished. And this is where, you know, we're relying too much. We cannot just rely too much on a resume, on an AI writer, you know, especially using the simplest ways of, you know, here's my resume, here's a job description, rewrite my resume to make it look better. That is just too simple. You gotta provide more insights. You gotta input details. You gotta set expectations. You got to get AI to ask you questions, enough questions for it to have enough details to be able to give you the best outcome. And it is your responsibility to ensure your resume does not look like anybody else. And even if you're going through that process, that step-by-step thought-based process, creative process, you are now injecting your individuality, you're injecting your own, you know, your own narrative, your own creativity into the AI-driven resume creation process. Back in the day, you had to actually learn stuff, and it was worth it. You know, you learned it, you developed, you got better, and now your resume is unique to you. So it actually helped you stand out. You weren't taking a risk of sounding like everybody else. But if you now adopt AI, as long as you go through a specific step-by-step process that surely is longer than upload the resume, here's a job description, spit out a resume for me. It takes a little bit longer than that, but at least you now have the opportunity. You're giving yourself the opportunity to make your resume stand out and for it to look like, at least make it look like you wrote it, you know? And if somebody asks you questions, you're more connected, you're more insightful as to what happened in the process of developing that resume. Cool. All right. With that said, I cannot tell you enough about the power of personal branding. Nowadays, having a strong personal brand in this kind of like new contemporary AI-driven world, it is a non-negotiable. A year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe. I mean, I'm not gonna take it, but like someone would come to you and make a case for not having to have a LinkedIn profile. People will get away with that, especially like the more senior people. It's like, oh, my resume speaks for me. So I have 10 years of experience, 12 years of experience, I've done it. Oh, I didn't get my last job on LinkedIn. And they would come and they would present their case and their argument. And, who am I to argue with them? Sometimes you accept it. Sometimes you let that person learn their lessons, But nowadays, it is no longer an option. It is non-negotiable. And it is the fundamental of helping you improve your visibility, credibility, and as we talked about before, the way to differentiate yourself from the competition. Next, couldn't tell you enough about the AI's role in crafting your personal brand, as we already talked about it. So we'll dive a bit deeper into how you can you can utilize AI in two parts of your personal brand. Now, I'm going to talk about mission statements on resumes, because that's an expertise of mine. That's one of the things that has always helped me differentiate myself from others, helped the resumes I've written to stand out. And the why behind that is because, again, having spent 10 years as a recruiter, I would always look at a resume from a recruiter's point of view, from an employer's point of view. And when they want to understand your personal brand, when they want to understand your story, they want to talk about your past. They want to learn and know about your past, present, and future. The number one mistake everyone makes when developing a personal brand or writing the resume, they think like, oh, I got to talk about my past experiences. That's who I am. I am my experiences. I am my education. But no, you're not. That's part of it. But you are also, what's more important are your present skills, or your capabilities. Companies pay you for your capabilities and skills that you have right now. And your past experiences, your past success does not guarantee your future success. That is not something that employers assume. You could have been great at company X doing X. It doesn't mean that you're going to be successful doing the same thing in company Y. It just does not work like that. Just that's not the planet we live on. So we cannot only lean back and rely on our past experiences. We have to also include our present skills and talk about them and sell our skills. So past, present, and the most important part of our story, the part that is going in the direction of where the employer is going and hopefully will align, will meet each other in the future, is our goal, is our vision, is our objective, is what I call our personal mission or professional mission, career mission. So there's so many things we can use AI for to craft your personal brand, but I want to first and foremost talk about how you can tell people what it is that you want to do and what it is that you want to do for them, what it is that you can help them. How can you help them? That's what they're there for. That's what they're looking at their resumes. That's why they're hiring. They're projecting the opportunity, the potential of having someone like you to do a job for them in the future, to solve a set of problems for them in the future and achieve their expected outcome. So the first piece of information they're looking for is, what do you want to do? We know what we want to do. Here's a job description. What do you want to do? Cool. So that's the mission statement. And next, again, one of the things that we can use AI to improve your personal brand is creating a professional image. And that's literally what you look like. And, not everybody has access to a photo studio with a professional photographer. And if you do, that costs, I want to say, at least $100. I've spent up to $300 on a photo shoot, or just taking a few photos, not a photo shoot, because you can spend thousands of dollars on a photo shoot. But going to the photo studio and taking a headshot, like 3 angles, they'll let you change your shirt once. but like you go and you want to take a good photo, one shot, one shirt, few tries, that's probably 80 bucks, $100, if not more. And you can now do the same thing at a fraction of the cost, like 20 bucks. I think the tool I'm sharing with you today, I think it's $21 for, and you get like 20 samples or something like that. And there's so many. There's another one, again, there's so many of them. There was a secondary option I was going to share with you. It's $30, but you get 100 samples. Really doesn't matter. One thing you need to know is that I've used a lot of free ones and they're pretty much all crappy, you know? So do spend the 20 bucks. Be grateful that it's not 100. Be happy that it's not 300. And just understand that you cannot get away with not having a photo on your LinkedIn profile, on your online platforms, or having a crappy one. I still to this day get people that, they say, hey, can I save 20 bucks? It's like, yeah, you can, but the person that gets down to your resume, the person that actually gets to invite you for an interview, reviewing you at the last stage, making that final decision on you, that person is the human, at least
Uh,
for now. It's a human being. And as human beings, we judge each other. We look into each other's eyes. We look at each other's body language. It's a static photo, but if you're not there excited with a big fat smile, looking like someone that I'll probably have fun being around, or at least he looks happy, she looks fine, you know what I mean? Like, if you cannot do that, if you're not able to look professional, then you just you're missing the big picture, more than, if you look at the total elements, the elements of communication, how we communicate with each other. There's a framework called the 7-38-55 rule of communication. Maybe all that here for everyone to have access to. 7-38-55 rule of communication.
Nader, while you're typing that, would you
Yeah.
be able to share some of these tools? I'm reading a lot of the webinar chat, and I think they understand a lot of the importance of personal branding and want to know what it is that you recommend.
We're about a few seconds away, just literally next slide.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Just
And you know
wanted to.
what? I'll double down on the explanation because everyone might hear me saying they know how important it is. But if I told you if you feel the frustration coming out of me a little bit, it's because of how much pushback I get on,
Mm,
dude, you need a new headshot. But, and,
thank you.
or, why, it's that. So it's like, oh, really, like, it's so easy, man. It's like, I'll spot you 20 bucks. That's why I'm stressing on it, but let's move on. Next but not least, I'm going to show you a unique framework for developing cover letters using an actual official copywriting framework. So again, you're going to learn how to be better writers. Now, you're not going to be writing this cover letter yourself. ChatGPT or another AI development tool is going to do it, but you need to be able to feed it information, prompt it accordingly to be able to fabricate that cover letter. It takes a few more steps to make yourself stand out and not sound like another person. What you don't want to do is upload your resume, upload a job description, and tell it to write a cover letter for you. That's more of a random process. You're not going to get the results similar to what I'm about to tell you. With that said, let's get right into it. So mission statements, professional headshots, unique cover letters. We're probably going to spend, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes on here, 30 minutes. I'm going to explain this, and this is what you need to learn. If you're going through the slide deck after, remember, this is where we have notes and the instructions, the copy paste prompts, websites, resources, everything's going to be on the side note here. There's going to be 3 sets of notes or comments. First one, you see there's 4 comments on there. That is relevant to creating a powerful mission statement. And with that said, let's see if I can move it to the right. I think some of it is cut off, right? See if that makes it a little better. think it's still cut off, right? You guys probably don't see half of these notes, correct?
Do you want me to go ahead and share the links that you have in here into the chat?
I'll put it up. It's cool. I thought maybe like I was assuming that you might not see it. It looked like it was cut off. But do you see the notes on the side? Oh, no,
We
no,
do.
it comes up. Okay, cool. I might be out of the presentation mode, but I'm guessing you guys can still see this. So I'll stay out of the presentation mode so you guys can see the notes on the side. And the first step, I've given you an example of a job description. So I just came up, I did a quick search, software engineer at Microsoft. No preference. I'm not sponsored by Microsoft. It doesn't matter really for this example what the sample is, but I want you to have a job description. So if you want to do this here with me today, you can. You know, I probably wouldn't recommend it. So you at least pay attention and learn how it's done. But when you're watching the recording and you're going through the slide deck, you can replicate exactly what I'm about to show you on your own with the job description that you're interested in, that you're targeting. But it starts from finding your job description and bringing it up. What I do also suggest, what I haven't done here, is to copy paste that job description out into a Word document. For example, what I was doing earlier today, I was doing this right on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn crashed. Like LinkedIn website was down for maybe a good hour. So I ended up doing the same search on Microsoft.com to find the job description again, but I momentarily lost it. And if at any time they take down this job description, you might lose it as well. So just copy paste this job description out into a different document, save it on your personal computer so you'll always have access to it. That's step number one. Step number two, I'm going to open up, scroll up. Step number two is the actual prompt. And this is where we want to use ChatGPT. I'm using ChatGPT. You can use any large language model that you want. But the framework that I do want you to follow, there are so many, we can implement the same strategy similarly with other frameworks, but this is the one that I get the best results with, the RTIG, and it begins by telling your platform, AI, ChatGPT, what its role is, and then giving it a task, providing information, and this is the most critical. And second most critical is to let them know what the goal is. What are you expecting to get at the end? So for the application of writing a mission statement, a career mission statement for a resume, for the resume of this software engineer from Microsoft, all we need is the prompt and sections of the job description, not your resume. If you have worked with me in the past, or individuals that follow the same framework that I follow for resume writing or for cover letter writing, you realize that you don't want to have the same type of content that you have on your resume on your cover letter. So just keep that in mind. The most important document is actually not your resume, it's your cover letter. It's not the resume, it's the job description. So you want to be able to rely on the job description to develop the cover letter, to develop the resume. The job description trumps everything else. So just keep that in mind. And that's why I haven't fed ChatGPT any information from this hypothetical software engineer that I'm pretending to be. Keep that in mind, because I know that's going to be a question. Do I need my resume? Do I need to tell them anything about my past experience? No, you do not, because when you want to write a mission statement, you're talking about that future self. You're talking about what it is that you want to do, not the skills that you have right now, not the things you've done in the past. It is all about that hypothetical future. So you tell it to act as a copywriter who writes resumes for a living. You can modify that, but you can get away with just saying act as a copywriter. But the more information you give it, the better. Copy paste this. This is tried and true. Step number two, which is the task. The task is create a career mission statement for a software engineer at Microsoft. I would say I would highlight this so you know that remains the same, that you don't need to change that. So act as a copywriter, who writes resumes for a living. I would probably keep that the same too, but perhaps you can get away with not having that or elaborating on it. You can explain it more. Create a mission career statement for, that would be a constant, and software engineer at Microsoft would be the title of the job you're applying to and the company. Pretty straightforward. When we get into step number 3, which is the information we need to feed the system, this is the most important step. This is where we need to describe in enough detail as we possibly can what is the primary responsibility of the person in that position, and the person, the company. What does the person do? What does the company do? If you look at any job description, you will be able to find this information in the beginning paragraphs, in the first few paragraphs. I often say before the bullet points start, before you have a section called duties or responsibilities. In the initial paragraphs, they talk about what the company does, what the company's mission is, what does this person do, maybe what does the team do. You can feed all this information to ChatGPT, to your AI. I didn't do that because I actually invested time and I read this. It was not the end of my life. This is this is so frustrating for someone when I actually get them to read this, because everyone jumps down here and down here. And they throw their hands in the air because they haven't worked on an x86 chip or an ARM. And I always tell them that you're way past where you need to be. Go here. Can you tell me what the mission of the company is? That person fails that question. Can you tell me what the team does? That person fails that question. And then they go to the interview. The questions they fail to answer, the answers to those questions are always in the primary paragraph. So please, this is critical. Please study this first few paragraphs. And I can tell you confidently, if you do have a solid understanding of these initial paragraphs, you understand the company's mission, team's mission, the mission of the person in that role. If you can talk about the company's values, then you're way ahead of so many other candidates who are going to be interviewing for the same role. And if you take this information to develop your resume, starting with the mission statement and moving on to your skill sets, and you take this approach, having this as the core point of content to develop your cover letter, you're going to be way different than everybody else, because the average person makes the common mistake of only focusing on the list of responsibilities and the required qualifications. So to stand out, do what others don't. Cool? So going back to the prompt, you can feed that whole thing to AI, but I'd rather you keep it short and efficient and only what you need. So what I did here is I said, this software engineer's job is to improve and extend the C++ tool chain. Where did I get that from? Right here. I copied that paragraph. That was just enough. And second thing, after explaining what the person does or what Microsoft wants that person to do in the future, given they receive the job offer and join the team, that's what this person will do. And I included what the company does. So I liked that paragraph. I like that information, or, this information is fine as well. The first two paragraphs, if you can find information about the company's mission, you can feed it. If you're not sure about which one, feed both of them. I didn't want to make the prompt too long here. So that's what the person does. And Microsoft's mission is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. That's the information we need to feed. Every different jobs, different information. And the goal is to include this mission statement on my resume. So use the STAR method of storytelling. Sure, everybody here would have heard of the STAR method, talking about telling stories, telling the situation, task, action and results. So use the STAR method to ensure it grabs the attention of recruiters, and keep the length of the statement under 30 words. You don't want that mission statement to be too long. If you're putting it on your resume, a couple of lines, couple of sentences would be more than enough. So with that said, I fed it to ChatGPT, and the mission statement I got is a software engineer who's dedicated to enhancing the C++ toolchain on diverse platforms. I leverage Microsoft's mission to empower global innovation, driving impactful solutions for Microsoft and Azure users. And that would be unique for your resume per job. You go to another job, it's a cloud engineer at Oracle. You go back to ChatGPT, you tell it to act as a copywriter who writes resumes for a living, create a career mission statement for a cloud engineer at Oracle. You pull up that job description, you tell it that this person, this cloud engineer is responsible for doing X, Y, and Z. That will not be the list of responsibilities. Don't get carried away to go down there. I know it's enticing, but find it in the initial paragraphs where they tell you in a consumable chunk, like in a very, it's short, quick, right to the point. It feels like it's more of a higher level, like a bigger picture. That's the kind of statement that you want to share with AI. And then tell it what the team does or what the company does. Depending on the job description, you either have the information about the team, and I could have included that as well. You can try it. You can say, this is what this person does. This is what his or her team does. And this is what the whole company does. Now, write a mission statement for me. I'm going to put it on my resume, use the STAR method, keep it within 30 words. And it's going to give you beautiful mission statements every single time that is unique to that application. This is exactly what they want to hear. That's what they expect you to do. So we need to tell them that this is what we want to do. Make sense? Let's move on and talk about amazing headshots. Photorealistic, professional, looking sharp, looking stunning. And there are so many tools out there. I've tried a few, maybe like handful, 3, 4 free ones, because I really wanted to bring a free one here. They all disappointed me. So I came across this company, tried on AI. I really liked what they do. It is the process. The creative studio is pretty cool. Very easy to use. It is not free though. I think it's $21. The turnaround time is 20 minutes or so. That's, for me, it was a little bit longer. Oh, $19 per month. And again, obviously you can cancel it. You can do as many things you want for a month. Have fun with it. Make all these creative photos, make professional ones. The results are fantastic. You know, very user-friendly. I'm not going to show you what to do or how to do it. It is super friendly. They help you with the prompts. They guide you through the steps. It's just, please, for the love of God, do it. If you don't have a good photo, my photo that you see on my LinkedIn profile, I took a couple of years ago, probably paid a couple of $100 for it. It's fine, looks good. I haven't got older much. It was done in a studio. I've kept it. But if you have we'll pick on this guy. If you have a crappy photo like this, like bad quality, poor lighting, background's dark, you can turn it into a sharp looking dude like that. And there's lots of other examples here. You can pick categories. You can pick the industry you're in. You can literally say, I work in this industry. I work in manufacturing, put on a construction suit for me, or whatever it is. The paid version is amazing. Free version, whether it's on this profile, this platform, or others, it was a big disappointment. It was a complete waste of probably 1 or 2 hours of my time trying to figure out a free resource. So I gave up. So, hey, $20, it's fantastic. So again, for the last time, just please do it. Do yourself a huge favor and modify, enhance, and get a sharp looking photo. Your future self will thank you for it. Next, let's talk about unique cover letters. Again, this is where most people fail to do this, like fail to actually make a better impression and enhance your personal brand by not including a cover letter. And the excuse is, I don't want to write a new cover letter for any app for a new application. And let's not open that can, let's not have that conversation because that's just crazy. Regardless of how long it takes, you gotta do it. But hey, there's an AI for that. We've got an AI for that right now. So, there's absolutely no excuse for it right now. Now, with that said, if you're just going to upload your resume or upload a job description to an AI and ask it to write a cover letter for you, when we scale that and when we look at hundreds and thousands of cover letters, they pretty much all start looking the same. And if you're not accurately prompting AI to use a specific copywriting framework, if you let AI to figure it out by itself, again, we don't have AGI right now. So maybe like later on, it learns to differentiate and ask you and, get you to teach it and train it, and maybe things will get better. But right now we need to tell it, because if you're not telling it exactly what to do, hence the prompt and the information you're going to give inside the prompt, then it's basically going to pretty much do the same thing for everyone, which makes your cover letter look like everybody else. And here we are back at score one, not having a differentiating factor, and then hence no competitive advantage. So with that said, as another example, with the same prompt engineering framework, going through telling it the role, the task, the information, and the goal, we are using the same job description, the same Microsoft job description, beginning by saying, hey, act as a copywriter, create a cover letter for a software engineer at Microsoft. We're going to feed it the same paragraph that we fed before, saying this software engineer's job is to improve and extend the C++ tool chain for the current and new hardware platforms. This software engineer is part of a dynamic team that will impact the C++ community and empower customers across Windows and Azure. So that's what the person does. That's what the team does. And now we're going, again, small picture to the big picture, right? And the company's mission is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. The one bit of information that we need to add within the information section is, and this is where the responsibilities come in. Now, interesting enough, there's only 3 bullet points here. Even if there was 10, I would still pick only the first 3. So don't get carried away. We need to now also reframe it and say that my top 3 skills for this job are, and these are the top 3 bullet points that are mentioned as responsibilities. So I get pushback on this, and not pushback, but questions like, but what if I don't? What if I don't know how to do this? What if I haven't done multi-level code generation before? And if you haven't done it, if you don't have the skill, then you should not be applying for this job, because you're not qualified for it. You need to have enough integrity and awareness and understanding that if you're not qualified, if you're not capable, you shouldn't apply for this job. And trust me, persons who are going to interview, person that's going to get the job is going to be the person who has done these things, that can do the job. So if you know genuinely in your heart you cannot do this, don't apply for it. So we are operating under the impression that you do know how to do this. Therefore, your top 3 skills for this job are, you copy paste only the top 3 bullet points from the responsibilities section of the job description, regardless of how many bullet points there are. And that concludes the information section. Now we need to tell it what we're expecting it to do, the goal of this project, of this prompt. And here the goal is to attach this cover letter to my resume, and its contents should be unique to my resume. Use the PAS copywriting framework to structure your copy so that it's clear, concise, and persuasive. it's going to know what the PAS copywriting framework is. So I think maybe I put this bit of information just for you, whoever's here. But the PAS stands for problem agitation solution. So in short, you start by identifying your reader's problem and agitating it so they understand the full extent of the issue. I teach this framework to those who are interviewing. It makes you become such a powerful and persuasive communicator while you're interviewing, while you're telling your story, while you're selling your skills. Telling your story, quite frankly, it's a little bit longer. It's the STAR method, it has a 4-part story. But when you're selling your skills, you got to use the PAS framework. So your skill is actually the solution, but you don't talk about your skills first. First, you talk about the problem that the employer has. You talk about what happens if we don't solve that problem. So you create demand, you create purpose, and you position yourself to overcome that problem and alleviate that agitation, that negative result. So last but not least, finally, then propose my top 3 skills as the solution. Keep the length of this cover letter under 200 words. 200 words, way more than enough. I don't really want to say anything longer than that. If I'm a recruiter, probably 150 you can get away with 150. Try it. So I fed that information to ChatGPT. I'll put it up here, maybe a little bit easier to read. So that information gives me a specific title. Love the title: Software Engineer Application, Unleashing Potential in C++ Toolchain Development. You will be and should be finding the hiring manager's name on LinkedIn. That's a different conversation for a different day. But the cover letter makes you stand out in this case when you're using the PAS framework, because it is not basically like a summary of your resume. If you guys are thinking back at your cover letter, and it's pretty much a summary of your resume, it's a repeat of what's already on there, and there's no story. It's just like, I'm interested in this job, and these are my experiences. This is where I worked. I got 5 PhDs. Call me. If that's pretty much what it says in a nutshell, then those are the cover letters that people don't read. They don't want to read about you. If they wanted to read about you, they would read your resume. They want to read about them. The cover letter is about the employer, not about the employee or the prospect or the candidate. The resume talks about you. The cover letter talks about them. And it says, in this case, in today's rapidly evolving tech landscape, the challenges of enhancing and expanding the C++ toolchain for emerging hardware platforms is more crucial than ever. This bottleneck not only stifles innovation, but also limits the capabilities of developers striving to push the boundaries of what's possible on Windows and Azure. You see, now we're building suspense, building the importance, building the context, giving it a situation, talking about how important this thing is that they do. The frustration of encountering these limitations is palpable among the C++ community, and developers' first hurdles in maximizing performance and capability compatibility directly impacting the end user experience and hindering the potential for groundbreaking advancement. This is the agitation part. It's frustrating. It's a pain in the ass. It's crushing us. It's hindering our potential. If we don't solve that stuff, if we don't do what we're supposed to do, we're going to be in trouble. And those 2 paragraphs are positioning you as the solution provider, as the problem solver. And this is where we begin to sell. You got to build up to selling. You cannot just talk about who you are and what you do. You got to build up to it. So here we go. My expertise aligns perfectly with addressing these challenges. 3 bullet points, more than enough. Machine level code generation and post-link binary transformations. I excel in optimizing compiler output for maximum efficiency compatibility across diverse blah, 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 blah. Ownership of the customer experience with a comprehensive understanding of the software lifecycle. I prioritize seamless user-centric solutions that empower developers and organizations alike. And last but not least, collaborative spirit. Working alongside of leading compiler engineers, I thrive in dynamic teams, driving innovation that have a substantial impact on the developer community and beyond. Last but not least, together, it's so important. Together, we can overcome these challenges, leveraging my skills to enhance Microsoft C++ toolchain and ultimately empowering every person or organization on the planet to achieve more. So we finished the cover letter powerfully by fully aligning ourselves with the company's vision and adopting their mission. Together, we're going to be solving these obstacles and empower the planet to achieve more. This is exactly what they do. This is what the company does. Make sense? So hope you guys see how powerful this is. And when we adopt the language of the employer, language of the recruiter, we can make massive progress and fully differentiating ourselves from the rest. All right. With that said, the major heavy lifting part of the presentation is done. So over the next 20 minutes, we're going to go downhill. I'm going to share with you resources, hours. Like I've been building this presentation for 5 weeks. So hours have gone through finding resources and qualifying them, verifying what's good, what's not good. Because it's confusing, man. These days, there's an AI tool for everything. Oh, let me rephrase. There's like 1,000 AI tools for anything. And it's going to be challenging to pick one. Surely in each category, there might be a handful of nice ones, but I've tried to pick the top because I'm expecting you're going to want to know what's the best, and the best is what you should want because you deserve the best. And the best is never free. Just keep that in mind. If you're going to hire a coach like me, it's going to be hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. We're talking about 10, 20 bucks here, like maximum $100. I think the most expensive thing I'm about to share with you in terms of these tools would be lifetime access for $100. Otherwise, it will be like 20 bucks a month, 40 bucks a month, and you just use it and you're done. Cancel your subscription. You're saving so much money. You just gotta be able to literally use the best, so you're not wasting your 20 bucks while you're saving, 1,000 on top if you're gonna hire a coach. So with that said, let's get back to the presentation mode so it's nice and focused. Needless to talk about the challenges of traditional job searching, but I've shared this framework here. I've talked about this and I've thought this for, I want to say, at least a decade. This is what I learned in recruiting, understanding what companies do to hire people and the reason why people don't get results is because the average person looks for jobs in the opposite direction to what employers do to hire people. And that's the big mistake. So take some time. This is self-explanatory. Understand that, priority is always given to internal promotions. If there's no one there, they look for referrals. If that doesn't work, they begin networking. And the first and most successful platform for networking for employers to look for, to search, and to find candidates is LinkedIn. If that doesn't work, and this is now a big if, they start using different events, organizations, associations. If none of these strategies work, they either outsource that job to a recruitment agency or they begin to advertise on all these job boards online. So by the time you see a job publicly advertised, it's not like the job wasn't created yesterday. It didn't open up yesterday. It's been days, if not weeks. And the employer has gone through quick, high trust, low risk, efficient, low cost methods. And if none of these have worked, if none of these have resulted into hiring someone, there's a reason for that. So just keep that in mind. That reason is critical for you to understand that, and you don't want to only compete with the last little bit of crumbs that are left, the last little bit of jobs that are finally made it to online job boards, where everybody's rushing to get one of those job offers. Again, that's the reality. But if you fundamentally shift your strategy, you can utilize, you can utilize different strategies to get hired faster. However, if you're looking at submitting jobs online and go through the online application process, because it's a It's a necessary evil a lot of times. Well, then there's an AI for that. So we're going to be talking about it right now. And from a lot of sources, again, I had a list of all these job finding automation tools. I actually wanted to share the entire list with you. I chose not to because I was even becoming overwhelmed. And I this is what I do, So I was becoming overwhelmed. I wasn't sure, okay, which one's the best? And then I put myself in your shoes. Of course you're gonna ask what's best. So I didn't want to leave you dazed and confused trying to figure out what to use. So I just picked the one that I believed offered the best solution for job finding. So finding the right jobs and tracking your applications automatically. And don't quote me on this, but I think this is free. Yeah, so the job tracker is 100% free. So I'll show it to you quickly, but you can ultimately go to that link, click on it, sign up. It is 100% free to set up the online job application tracker. I've read a lot of successful reviews on it, lots of videos on it. You can go really in depth on YouTube learning about it. And this is my pick. Teal is my pick. I like it just based on the support, based on the information, based on the content, the way they're presenting themselves, how they're teaching, how they're laying it out. And some reviews here, but there's so much more reviews on LinkedIn, on obviously on pretty much every, if you Google it, you look at every social media platform, there's someone saying that they've got positive results from Teal, and it's free. I think you can do, there are limitations, obviously, for the free package, and $9 a week, it's worth it. It's worth it if you need it, but start with the free solution and work your way up if you see you're getting positive return on your investment. And if you can save yourself a couple of hours a day, meaning you're saving yourself 10 hours a week and 40 hours a month, just imagine what you can do with 40 hours of a month, 40 hours per month in networking. Just imagine what you can do networking for 40 hours a month, or just learning something new, or, just doing something else, So it's worth it. You buy your freedom with Teal's job tracker. Next, moving on from tracking, I want to share with you job matching. So I know a lot of time is invested in basically just finding, jobs that fit me. This is perhaps more relevant to those who are in the earlier stages of their career, and they just need someone to tell them which job is a fit for them. A lot of times you may have experienced that you're applying to jobs that end up being not a good fit for you. I get a lot of those questions in my consultation calls that, hey, like, what's the right job for me? So I don't get that from someone who has many years of experience, but it's a completely fair question to ask if you're in the early stages of your career, or if you've gone through, like, frankly, if you're going through kind of like a midlife crisis or a mid-career crisis. I went through a mid-career crisis last year. I told you about it, I lost half of my business, It was like, oh my God, AI is killing all coaches, But now I'm coming out of it, adapting, adapting to the changes, taking the right steps, making adjustments, landing on my feet, So you might find out that, okay, I've gone through this layoffs. I'm tired of this industry. This industry's actually being demolished by AI, or I'm just so young, I don't know what to do. The pajama jobs, it's the AI that matches you with the jobs that actually fit you. So all you gotta do is update your resume on here. Very straightforward. It starts making suggestions. And from what I understand, free as well. All of these websites will have a paid option. You'll get to a point that starts to pretty much ask you to pay. But practice, begin, start. Maybe the first 20 jobs would be matched for you, and you realize, okay, you know what? I'm now looking at positions that I had not previously considered. Let me apply to it. Let me bring these job descriptions and these positions to Teal and apply to them and track them. Let's see what happens. Begin to test, begin to play around with it, and have AI come up with new ideas for you. That's one thing AI does really well. So this is my pick. There are many different ones. Kick Resume is getting a lot of positive feedback from the resume creation process. I'm not even attempting to go through that right now or in this session. Albert and I are going to have a meeting tomorrow to see if we can build a multi-day, in-depth boot camp or a training, like a multi-day training course or something like that. Then I can, invest, I don't know, a couple of months in building this kind of training and then bring to you guys more in-depth course or training or boot camp or webinar or whatever we're going to call it, to teach you how to go through all these processes, but from a different perspective, from a perspective of someone who's written thousands of resumes. And, if you're just going to upload a resume, feed it the job description and say, hey, write me a resume, chances are your resume is going to look just like someone else. And you're going to lose the touch. You're going to lose that individuality, that creativity. And, people will find out during the interview process. They can call you on your bullshit, So again, if we get there, I'll have to start recommending different platforms, or maybe I'll give you a framework and we'll go through again advanced, prompt engineering frameworks using ChatGPT to build it from the ground up. I'll work on that. But for now, this is a portion of one of the tools from kickresume.com that just matches you with the right jobs. I know that it takes a lot of time to go through job boards or websites and just look at this. 1 software engineer, 2 software engineer, 3 software engineer 2, senior, principal, staff, X, Y, Z. It's like they're all software engineers. I don't know which one's right for me. It's frustrating, Now imagine having to read all of these. And imagine, I know why reading all this is frustrating. Like, I know I was pressing everyone to read this because everybody skips, and it's like, literally, they're taking a shotgun to their face when they're not reading. They're wasting their entire time. But imagine someone can actually, an AI can understand who you are and what you do, know your resume inside out, and can crawl the web, picking the right opportunities for you without you having to sit here and scroll and scroll. And quite frankly, these all pretty much sound the same. Some are junior, some are intermediate, some are senior, some are more senior. I don't know what I want to do, and this is taking me a lot of time. Now I'm frustrated. I'm just going to go play some video games. That's pretty much what happens every time. So you can automate that entire process. That's Pajama Jobs, part of kickresume.com. Last but not least, in this series of automating the job application process, I'm going to give you one more tool. There are lots of tools for this one as well, ultimately designed to automate the whole process. So find the jobs for you and also apply for you. You'll notice some of these tools may kind of like overlap a little bit, but again, I wanted to give you as many options as I possibly could. And that's what Lazy Apply does. I want to share with you specifically what I like about them, and I'm going to have to come down here to their basic plans. First things first, they give you lifetime access. So that's fantastic. It's not a monthly thing. They give you lifetime access. They cover so many platforms. They automate jobs on LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Glassdoor, Career Builder, Seek, Dice, and Simply Hired. So that I like. And this is the actual $130 plan forever. And from what I understand, as they're developing their solutions and their software, you're gonna keep getting that. You're gonna be part of it. You're never gonna hit 750 applications per day, but this is way higher than what other platforms offer. So if you look at Sonara was another company that was on my list. I took it off because I think they had like 15 applications a week or something like that. It was just like not enough. and I found it to be a little bit sketchy, but it didn't have all these details. I'm getting so many platform automation tools here, 5 resumes, more than enough, 750 you'll never get here. And you'll get the analytics and the improvement tools and everything you need at a one-time price of $130. It's going to be worth every penny. So this is what I recommend. You can even use it. If you don't like it, get your money back. They have all these additional tools they're adding, all kinds of stuff here that I did not get into. I generally do not like because they're way too automated. It does not allow you to give accurate prompts with information, with copywriting frameworks. But if Albert and I decide to do something more comprehensive, more in depth, I'm going to help you guys again understand prompt engineering better, frameworks, formulas, so you can build your resumes or other things from the ground up much more successfully. And that's when we'll likely dive into LinkedIn profile development and things like that. So lazy apply, Panda. This is pretty cool. Moving on. Let me go back to full screen here. This is the last bit. So now we now know what to do to get more interviews. And, we're getting to the interview process. We got to practice. We got to prepare. We got to get that confidence up. We got to be able to speak with more clarity. When we get more practice, we're able to enhance our communication skills. And that's going to give us more self-confidence, more self-esteem, and just allow us to communicate at a much level. Earlier, I talked about, what you say, how you say it, and also what you look like when you say it is critical. Now, with AI these days, you can practice what you say and even how you say it. AI is catching up and can not completely, but can give feedback on that. And as we develop better models, it'll enhance, but we know that it has limitations. So it's not going to give you feedback on your body language, and even like on things like your tone of voice. It's I'm seeing developments. And one of the tools I'll introduce to you, I'm seeing developments there. I actually know the CEO. And again, he's made some promises. We'll see if he's going to deliver with his AI. But ultimately, AI is not going to be able to tell you what's, where you can improve, in your body language, or if you're going to be a good cultural fit. So ultimately, that overall interview success is not going to be able to be fully automated by AI, but it is a fantastic platform for you to get practice, prepare, gain your confidence and self-esteem up. Otherwise, ultimately, you're talking to a robot. So, take it with a grain of salt. Now, I think I've given you 2 platforms. There are not too many interview practice platforms, but I've given you a couple. There are more. This was the easiest part of my job because I was testing some and they were just not good. So just keep that in mind. This is what qualifying this was the easiest for me. But hey, the couple I'm going to share with you for interview practice and later on with job search negotiation. One is actually, it's first one's free. It's Google's interview warm-up. I'll show you quickly what it looks like, what it is. Chances are you've seen this. Google promotes this a lot. It's fully interactive with voice, so you don't need to type your answers in. It asks you questions specifically. You say verbally your answer. It takes it, it transcribes it. You move on to the next question, asks you another question. You verbally say your answer, takes it, transcribes it, and then gives you feedback. I think gives you feedback, and it's free. You should be using it if you're not. I mean, it's a product of Google. I liked it. The few tests that I did with it was pretty good. It was like, oh, damn. damn, this is good, and it's free, really? So it's like, this is pretty good. This was impressive, and you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. So Google's interview warm up. It is primarily for the tech sector. So again, it is a Google product. So you're going to see what they're advertising it for is for like analytics, cybersecurity, data, project management, product management, some digital marketing, e-commerce questions and stuff like that, IT. So it's not every single job out there. Just be aware of that, but it is free and it is fantastic. The user experience is pretty cool, simple, right to the point. Now, the other platform that I like, it's called starmethod.coach. It is also called realmockinterviews.com, realmockinterviews.com or starmethod.coach. So why did I specifically choose this one? Because most individuals that I do interview practice with, they struggle with telling their story. We discussed the STAR method a little bit as we were prompting ChatGPT, and I told you how effective it is. And it helps us write mission statements. It is fundamental for writing about your past experiences. And it is also fundamental for answering behavioral interview questions. So what if we had an AI powered STAR method training coach? Wouldn't that be great? Well, there's an AI for that. It works in 3 different ways. So I really like this. You can upload a job description, and that's what I did. I uploaded the same software engineer job description, and it just spits out questions that that you would be asked in the actual job interview. And you can just start by answering them. It actually reads, it kind of like simulates that environment.
I'm Alex Morgan from the engineering team. Can you describe a time you had to optimize machine level code generation? What strategies you
Cool. I don't know if you guys heard that, but it's Alex Morgan talking to you, so it's very interactive. You go back and forth, you want to follow the STAR method. So this AI has been trained on the stories that you tell it, which is a specific time. You were responsible for a task, the actions you took to overcome those tasks, and then what the results were. Or even like, what did you learn from that experience? That's what I always work on. I put another R at the end of it. What did you learn from that experience? Reflect, result, and then reflection. So this is very cool. So you can feed it the job description. It pulls resume. It pulls questions out of it. You can feed it a resume. So I didn't do that because I didn't want to give anyone's resume in here without their consent. But same idea. You give it the resume, it asks you questions about your resume, or you can just answer already pre-made STAR behavioral questions. And this pretty much has all the positions. I mean, the list of positions, I mean, you could be a cook or a chef, like regardless, has a long list of positions that you could potentially have. If you're a hairstylist, your job is really secure. AI is not going to take your job. But let's say you're a full stack developer and you want to prepare for an interview, for a behavior interview. You want to grow you want to enhance your storytelling skills. You just click on the question. The AI, the voice asks you the question. You say it back, and then you get a detailed analysis email. Cool. So really like what these guys do. Let's move on. Let me close these tabs. Last but not least, we're actually doing pretty good with time. Last but not least, you get the job offer. Now you want to negotiate it. You want to see how you did. You want to see if the job offer is fair, if there's opportunities for development or not. This is, again, where ChatGPT comes in and a couple of resources I've given you. So we'll talk about that as well. But first things first, don't assume that the offer they give you can always be negotiated or that the salary is like low. it's not it's not the, I hear this too much, so that's why I'm highlighting it. You know, it doesn't mean that every company is going to give you lowball you. It's not like a common practice, regardless of how much we hate employers or things like that. And, you know, you have to have a reason. You have to have a legitimate reason for going back to them. And you have to make your case that for this reason, based on my research, based on this analogy, based on these insights, I believe, I expect, you know, I deserve X and this is why. So again, you got to go through the thought process. Otherwise, it's not worth it just to ask him for more money just for the sake of, oh, I used to make this much in the last job. You know, 10% of that is this much, because there's a magic 10% rule that I keep hearing, or 13%. There are no rules like that, you know. Your last salary does not dictate your future salary, and there's no standard amount of increase that you got to get before you move on. So just keep that in mind. So when you get a job offer, you can ask, you know, ChatGPT basically. Let's go back up. Here's my resume. For more context, you upload your resume. You tell it to ask as a human resource manager and review this job offer I have received. You input, you upload the job offer. And then based on my work experience, my skills, and the average market pay rate, is this offer fair? Ask me any additional questions you need until you have enough information to be able to provide me with an accurate answer. This is a critical piece of the prompt. Ask me what you need to know. This is where you end up inputting more information. The input is so important. This is where you actually guide, you get involved. So this allows you to figure out if your offer is fair. Let's assume it is. Are there any areas where I could negotiate for a higher salary or better compensation package? If yes, then help me craft an argument for negotiating a higher salary or better benefits. So get AI to take you through this thought-provoking process, do the research for you, come up with logical arguments, because the average person that wants more money just wants more money because I want more money. It's just way too emotional. There's often no logic into it. It's just purely emotional. And if they have a logic, it's like, I used to make this much, or my friend makes that much, Google's paid this much. And they're going to turn around and say, well, we're not Google, you're not your friend, and this is not your last job. What's up, you know? So again, that's where you're really risking even having the offer pulled away, you know? So go through this process, provide more information, and last but not least, when ChatGPT or the AI gives you an argument, gives you a logical argument, do the role play. Your last prompt here is, now let's simulate the salary negotiation. I will present my argument. You're going to feed the same thing back to them. And you will play the role of the hiring manager. And this is going to be the back and forth. This is so interesting when you start doing that. This is, for me, it's fun, but for you, it's going to be interesting. You're going to test yourself. You're going to realize that, am I ready to go into this conversation? Do I really want to have that conversation or not? Assuming that, yeah, everything went, there is an opportunity for growth. It did give you a logical, you know, answer. You were offered 115,000. You now want more. You know that you want more. So one of the things that you gotta do your research. There's a couple of resources I've given you here. One is payscale.com. The other one is good old Glassdoor salaries. When you look at Payscale, I really like Payscale because of, you know, they've gone ahead and adopted AI a lot better than Glassdoor, if you're asking me. And there's two massive sets of data that they've compiled. One is employee reported and the other one is employer driven. And you're able to gain access to both data sets and get a much more accurate and real world look at what the salary range is for, let's say, a software engineer, you know, let's say in Seattle for a company like Microsoft, or for companies like Microsoft. And when you go into the negotiation, or even when they ask you how much salary you want, I want you to basically like have this statement, this paragraph, and memorize it, like read off of the page, put it on a sticky note and like read off of it. You need to be accurate with this. So you come across as someone who's purely presenting a purely logical conversation rather than an emotional ask, right? So when they ask you how much money you want, this could be in the first interview, or this could be post offer letter. You get into the negotiation, they ask you, so what it is, okay, so you presented your case. So how much money are you looking for? We offered you 115. What are you looking for? Then you present it like this and you say, again, thank you for considering it. Based on my research on websites such as Glassdoor and PayScale, I have found that the average base salary for a software engineer in Seattle with similar experiences and skills as me is between 120 and 150,000 per year. And I'm seeking a base salary of 125,000 per year. Is that aligned with this position's compensation? Okay, so this is critical for you to present it like this, calm and confident. I've done my research. You offered me 115. My research tells me that it's between 120 and 150. And please don't make this up. If you do the research and the range is between 110 and 130 and they're offering you 115, it is within range. Just keep in mind that if you're still going to go and ask for 125, you're only 5K away from the top of their salary budget. So you're naturally going to be decreasing your chances of getting that job. You cost more. Doesn't mean that they're not going to give it to you. It's still within range. So it's fair to ask for 120 if they offered you, it's still fair to ask for 125 if they offered you 115 and the range is between 110 and 130. You just got to be able to back it up with insights, and what was your entire interview experience? Did you feel good? Are you feeling confident? Did everything go well? Do you like them? Do they like you? Is the 10,000 per year going to be a deal breaker? What do you feel? This is not something AI can help you with. A trusted mentor can be a better judge of that situation, someone you can be honest and vulnerable with. But just keep in mind, when you answer that question and you go into the negotiation, answer it based on research and logic. Cool? All right. With that said, I think this is it. Yeah, cheers to your success with AI. I can encourage you to adopt these AI tools and strategies. Anything we talked about today and anything you're going to continue learning about, ultimately, it's about having a differentiating factor and a set of competitive advantages to help you stand out, to help you communicate better, market yourself better, and utilize AI for the entire career path you have. Ultimately, I've taken on the mission to educate, encourage, and empower everyone to embrace AI as their kind of like career companion. It's changed what I do and how I do it, but I'm no longer scared of it. I've adopted it. Although I was really challenged by it last year, this year it's a complete different path. It's made me a better person. It's made me much more knowledgeable. It's definitely made me a better coach. And if you want to utilize some of my services, if you want to have more of these conversations, or utilize some of the services I offer with hands-on, because sometimes it is the offer negotiation that you need to have someone beside you. Sometimes it is the face-to-face interview practice and you need to get someone to give you real-time feedback and talk about your tone of voice and tell you that the unmade bed behind you looks terrible. Make your bed. That's why they're not going to call you back. Like, unfortunately, a common scenario, like the environment you're in is untidy. Like things like that. Like, can you brush your hair, please? Like, AI, at least for now, it's not gonna point these things out, but sometimes you need that real person with you. So I encourage you to join my community. I have a private community, coaching community outside of LinkedIn. It's going to be free to join until end of March. So you have 3 weeks to join. Everything on there is free. The courses are free. I do 2 workshops on Sundays, one life coaching workshop, one career coaching workshop. They are both free at 2 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Pacific, all free, believe it or not, but they won't be going into April. Cool. So with that said, first of all, I want to thank Albert, as always. Thank you for having me. And I'm here. I'm willing to answer questions. I know we have 110 people still with us here. I hope you guys enjoyed. I got 99 plus messages in chat. So I'm not sure if anyone took, kept track of the
We have a lot
questions,
of
but I'm
questions,
all
but I'm
yours.
gonna go ahead and ask the ones that I think are really coming up. We know that your slides are available through the link. Are your notes going to be available too? Because you also had some prompts that I think folks really
They're all in
wanted.
the comments. Yeah.
Oh,
So
they're in the comments? Oh, I don't see
yeah,
comments
so
on the
exactly
page.
where I clicked in the comments section of exactly where I clicked on the notes. This is a public, I've made this presentation public. So if someone wants it, actually, you know what? I'm going to drop it in chat right now.
Perfect. Cool.
What am I talking about if someone wants it? We're living in an AI world. Here we go. So I
They're
go to
saying the slides
chat.
don't have the comments. So if your link does have it, then I think it would help a lot.
Has someone gone through them yet or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it, I think, and I see the okay. No, yeah, I don't see the notes. I just see the links and link previews.
Okay.
Let me click what you've
Try it
shared.
again. So maybe I'll try it in incognito to see what you're looking at.
Yep,
But yeah, I mean that's the meat and potatoes, right? So
it
if it
is.
doesn't show up, oh, that is so weird. It doesn't show up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
you guys
notes
are
may
right.
be
So
for
that
you only. So,
yeah, okay, that's no good. Hopefully you guys saw it on the screen, like you did, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna have to like copy paste all of that out and just I'll probably like make it into a PDF or something like that.
So we'll send a PDF around for all of you. Um, and we'll go from there. And that'll be in the follow-up in addition to anything else. So hopefully that can help all of you guys. So we have some other questions. There's a lot of questions. I've tried to answer some of these in between. Um, we will so somebody asked, what AI prompting online class do you recommend? I've seen several. Or maybe in general, how
I
do you become
haven't
a better
attended any
prompter?
classes. I've watched hours of
Hmm.
YouTube because people teach this completely for free on YouTube.
Hmm.
Um, I like listening to like actual prompt engineers, which are probably boring and but that's just being a nerd myself, right? Coming from a machine language background. But if you're on Instagram, if you're on YouTube, I've read lots of like multi-page articles. I like understanding frameworks. That's what I nerd out on. So honestly, you can do that, just complete for free. And there are some courses, not one that I can recommend to you on the top of my head, but uh, there's enough information on YouTube and online for free that I didn't feel like I had to go and
Hmm. Okay.
like pay for a class.
Yeah. Let's see. Did you share any tips on writing a resume using AI?
No, that's the thing. So again, I mentioned Albert and I we have a meeting tomorrow,
Hmm.
and I've received a lot of positive feedback and interest about using AI and job searching and everything that goes with it. This presentation was literally a 50-page Word document. that I ended up bringing it down. Like I joke you guys not, like it's not easy to get it so concise. And I practiced many times, but like I still went over by 15 minutes. You see, like it's not easy to be able to go in depth within a reasonable amount of time. I tried to do that with mission statements and cover letters. So hopefully I was being clear enough. But for the rest, you gotta basically, I'm relying on your guys, your due diligence to go to the websites I've recommended. I feel like I've done some of the heavy lifting of going through like tens of platforms and just picking one, and hope you trust in my 10 plus years of experience dealing with these, not with these platforms, but dealing with these business processes, because that's what they are. These are business processes, career documentation, and writing content development processes, and just picking ones that made sense to me as someone who almost every day writes a resume. Still to this day, every week I probably do average of 3 resumes a week, you know? So I have personally not started using AI for resume writing because, when you sit down and speak with someone, you realize how personalized their story is. And I teach them how to write mission statements with AI, because guess what? Every job you're applying to needs a new mission statement. That's the part we change. We don't change the skills because we pick your top 5 skills and we hold on to your top 5 skills. If I tell you my top 5 skills, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I guarantee you're not gonna hire me for my skill number 6. Because it's probably like baking a cake or something. Like, my top 3 skills is what I make money with. My number 4th and 5th are so irrelevant to you guys right now that it's not even part of what I do inside my business. So when I teach someone how to write their resume, well, when I write someone the resume, I go through conversations and digging out their top 5, let's say engineering, top 5 marketing, whatever it is, top 5 skills, and we order them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're not even thinking about getting paid for skill number 6. So we don't change it. And the past is the past, so we don't change it. But they need to know how to modify their cover letter every time from the ground up, how to write a mission statement every time from the ground up. So moving forward, attempting to write a resume, which means a set of skills, how to sell your skills, how to implement the PAS system, and how to write your past experiences with the STAR method. That itself is probably 1.5 hours or 2 hours, so it takes a bit of time. But if you're interested, we can definitely put it on the list,
Yep. There's a lot of questions here that are so very different. So you had mentioned in the cover letter exercise, agitating the story. Can you explain what you mean by agitating?
So problem, agitation, solution. This is a copywriting framework that is, I don't know, 50 years old. It's nothing new, nothing innovative. There are many different copywriting frameworks. So if you want to really learn about all of them, if you're interested, just Google it, copywriting frameworks. You're going to notice that one of those is the PAS system. So when you want to sell your skills, you gotta end with your skill. So let's say your skill is developing front end software. Let's say your skill is whatever, doesn't matter what the example is. In this case, I just picked a software engineer, being an engineer myself, and I primarily coach engineers and technologists in the tech sector in and around here. The problem, we need to start talking about the problems that we solve first. And the problem is mentioned in the job description. Then what happens when we don't solve that problem? That's the agitation. So if I want to talk about myself, my skill of resume writing, and I talk to you, I want to tell you about my resume writing skill. The problem I talk about is if you don't communicate clearly to recruiters, and that's the problem, unclear communication, then you will not be able to land enough interviews. That's the agitation. So that's the negative consequence of not solving that problem. Therefore, I write resumes so you can get enough interviews, so you can improve your communication skills and get enough interviews. So there's those three components always, 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 regardless of who you are and what you do. If you're an accountant offering financial planning, the problem people deal with are not having enough money left at the end of the month to pay their rent. If you don't pay your rent, the landlord's gonna come and yell at you. That's the agitation, you know? So the negative consequences of you not solving the problem. Therefore, I can help you manage your, you know, your accounts, save some money, you know, get rid of wasted expenses. So you will have enough money to pay your rent and your landlord will never show up at your door. So that's persuasive. That's persuasive writing. And that's what copywriting frameworks do, like the PAS system.
Awesome. Okay. I see a lot of you had mentioned that about adding or not adding hard numbers or percentages on your resumes because of the influx of fake numbers done by AI. Is that something now that you believe that we shouldn't do in our resumes?
No, I don't mean not to do it. I just wanted to share with you guys that story and understanding the experiences that recruiters are going through, because prior to AI beginning to write a lot of these resumes, again, without enough description, without instructions, you know, the average resume didn't have any numbers on it.
Hmm.
You know, it just didn't have the 2x of this, you know, duration, you know, X amount of dollars saved, this many percentage growth. It just didn't have it. So the average resume, we're not used to seeing that stuff. And guess what? Of course we want to see it. So we would sit down with you and say, hey, you notice you implemented this. How long did it take? How much was that project's budget? How long did it, you know, how much, who did you do it with? Did you do it alone? Oh, you did it in a team. How many people were in your team? You know, like how did that impact the website's traffic? So the recruiter would begin to dig deeper and ask those questions because, of course, we need that. But then everyone started just uploading the resume and the job description to AI, and AI is trained to write better, obviously, and get those facts and figures in. So it started making stuff up. I just literally had to rewrite a resume the other day when, again, I've seen it. So, but the person had made those X's and the durations red. So I'm like, why are they red? And she straight up told me they're not true. That's AI writing that stuff. So I made them red because I have to change them. I'm like, okay. So like, did you actually do this, improve this by 25%? She's like, no. I'm like, okay, like we can't say it. Do you know how much you improved it? And no. Like, okay, let's talk about it. Let's do a before and after analysis. This was a number of technical issues she had solved as like a systems administrator. It's like, okay, so what was the issues? How many times the website was down? How much traffic? How much data corruptions? This much. Like, okay, cool. So like, what did it look like after? So we now actually begin to do the math, do the thought process and assessing, okay, like let's just say nearly 20%. Let's not put an accurate number on it, nearly 20%. And remember that not if, but when the recruiter asks you how you come up with that, you got to be able to explain it. Because just putting the facts and figures and numbers may improve your chances of getting an interview, but when you're in the interview, you need to be able to tell clear stories, following the STAR method, be able to explain this is what it was before. I did these things. This is what it was like after. So when I looked at the difference, you know, this is how I came up with the 20% increase. So it's the thought process, it's the analysis of that employers are looking to see if you know how to do, and you know, do you know how it's done? Do you know how to do it here?
Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, we are towards the top of the hour. If you would like to connect with Nader, I have his LinkedIn for you here in the chat. I know there are some of you still with questions, and we appreciate you asking these questions. It's just coming up on the 2 hour time frame here. And so yeah, wanna any final thoughts, Nutter, before I go ahead and close out? There's been so much content shared. You know, the star method AI tool completely blows my mind. I think it's amazing. It doesn't mean that I don't want to practice with another human being because I think being able to react to facial reactions is so important. But there's been so much given away today that's amazing. Any final thoughts?
No, thanks for everyone for being here, and happy to answer questions on LinkedIn. That would be a great place for me to actually answer questions because I can respond in voice messages and I can actually explain. Uh, Aside from that, connect with me there. And if you guys want to spend some more time together, get in my coaching community. It's free together until end of March. It's a project I started this year, first 3 months free. We've got, nearly 100 people in there. And we're going to hit the ground running and keep doing more work using AI when we get into April. So if you enjoyed what we talked about today, I'm going to be going much more in depth and be there for you every weekend, every Sunday, 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific to answer your questions and help you adopt AI.
Love it. Well, we'll send you all a recording within 24 to 36 hours after this webinar, and also be looking to get the PDF of Notter's notes. Thank you all so much for coming tonight. We appreciate that you spent 2 hours with us to learn about these valuable skills, and we wish you best of luck on your job search and to see you again soon at a future Albert's List event. Thank you all so much. Have a good night.
Okay, guys. Bye.
Bye.